You arrive in London before the city knows itself. The darkness is not complete. It holds a kind of thickness, a weight that seems to press gently against the buildings, the parked cars, the low iron railings that line the narrow pavements. The air is cool but not cold. It rests against your face without urgency. You stand for a moment where you have arrived, your feet on uneven stone, and you do nothing but breathe. The street lights here are amber, not bright, not sharp. They cast a soft wash across the pavement, pooling beneath themselves and fading before they reach the next post. Between them, shadows settle into doorways, into the gaps between houses, into the space where a small front garden meets the street. You notice the way the light does not fill things, it suggests them. A gate, a windowsill, the edge of a brick wall. You are on a residential street. The houses stand close together, their fronts rising straight from the pavement or set back only slightly, behind low hedges or iron fences painted black. Most of the windows are dark. A few hold the faint glow of a lamp left on inside, a warm square of yellow behind curtains that do not move. You stand and look at these windows for a long time. You think about the people inside, still sleeping, still held in whatever dreams the night has given them. You do not know them. You will not meet them. But their presence is here behind the glass, behind the brick. The street is empty. You begin to walk slowly with no particular intention. Your footsteps make a quiet sound against the pavement, a soft scrape and fall that seems too loud at first and then becomes part of the silence. The rhythm is your own. You do not hurry. There is nowhere you need to be, no time you are trying to meet. The city around you is barely conscious, and you move through it the way you might move through the edge of sleep, aware but not fully present, drifting without effort. The houses on either side of you are mostly brick. Some are painted pale colors that the amber light turns gray or gold. You notice the texture of the walls as you pass, the way age has settled into them. Small cracks, patches where the paint has worn, window frames that have been repainted many times, thick with layers. There is no newness here. Everything has been standing for a long time, holding its place, familiar to itself. You pause near a lamppost and look up. The light hums very faintly. You would not hear it if the street were not so quiet. It is a soft electrical hum, steady and low, like the sound of something breathing in its sleep. You stand beneath it and feel the slight warmth it gives, though it is barely enough to notice. Above the light, the sky is still dark, but not black. It holds a deep blue-gray, the kind of color that comes just before the world begins to turn. You watch it for a while. It does not change quickly. It does not change at all at first. And then, without you noticing the exact moment, it is lighter than it was. You begin walking again. The pavement beneath your feet is uneven in places. You feel the slight rise and fall of old stones, the way they have settled over time, shaped by footsteps and weather and the roots of trees growing beneath them. There are no trees on this part of the street, but you can see them ahead, dark shapes rising against the sky, their branches bare and intricate. You walk toward them without thinking about it. The street bends slightly to the left and you follow it. A car is parked along the curb, its windows fogged from the coolness of the night. You pass close to it and see your reflection, blurred and soft, moving across the glass. You do not stop to look. You keep walking and the car falls behind you, becomes part of the stillness you are leaving in your wake. The silence is not absolute. Beneath it or within it there are small sounds, distant ones. A low hum that might be traffic far away on a road you cannot see. The faint creak of something settling, a gate, a drain pipe, the wood of a window frame adjusting to the temperature. You hear these things without listening for them. They come to you the way details come when you are not trying to notice, when your mind is quiet and your attention is soft. You reach the end of the residential street where it opens onto something wider. You stop before you step into it. You stand at the corner, your hand resting lightly on the rough brick of the building beside you, and you look both ways along the broader road that stretches in front of you. It is still empty. The road is wider here, with painted lines down the center, faded and worn. The pavement is darker, smoother, newer perhaps, or simply used in a different way. The streetlights are the same amber but spaced farther apart, and the pools of light they cast seem smaller against the width of the road. You can see farther now down the length of it, and the perspective pulls your gaze forward into the distance where the lights fade into the grayness of the early air. You do not cross yet. You stand at the edge and breathe. The air tastes faintly of something you cannot name. Not smoke, not dampness, but something older, something that belongs to cities that have been breathing for centuries. Stone and rain and the residue of countless days. It is not unpleasant. It is simply there, part of the texture of the place, like the sound of your own footsteps or the coolness against your skin. You notice your breathing, the way it moves in and out, steady and slow, the way your chest rises and falls without you having to think about it. You are calm. You are here, standing on a corner in a city that is still sleeping, and there is nothing you need to do but continue standing, continue breathing, continue being present in this small pocket of time that belongs to no one but you. A light comes on in a window across the road. You see it flicker once, then hold. A soft yellow glow behind a thin curtain. You watch it for a long time. You imagine someone waking, reaching for a lamp, sitting up slowly in bed. Or perhaps they have been awake for a while, lying in the dark and only now have decided to rise. You do not know, you will never know, but the light is there, a small sign that the city is beginning to stir, that the night is loosening its hold. You step forward onto the broader road and you cross it slowly. There are no cars. There is no one to wait for, no one to avoid. You walk across the painted lines, feeling the slight change in the surface beneath your feet, and you reach the other side. The pavement here is lined with shop fronts, their windows dark, their metal shutters pulled down and locked. You walk alongside them, looking at the shapes of things behind the glass. Mannequins, shelves, the edge of a counter. Everything is still, frozen in the posture it held when the lights went out and the doors were locked hours ago. You pass a doorway set back slightly from the street and you stop. You step into it just a few paces and you lean against the wall. The brick is cool against your back. You close your eyes not to sleep but to listen, to feel the weight of the city around you, the way it holds itself in this hour before dawn. The buildings press close on either side of the street, rising up into the grayness, their rooftops invisible, their heights suggested rather than seen. You feel small here but not lost. You feel held, contained within the geometry of stone and glass and old iron. You open your eyes and look up. The sky has changed. It is lighter now, a pale gray that spreads across the space between the buildings, softening the edges of things. The stars, if there were any, are gone. The darkness has thinned, become translucent, and through it you can see the shapes of chimneys, the lines of rooftops, the way the buildings lean slightly, settled into their foundations. You step back onto the pavement and continue walking. The street begins to curve gently, and you follow it. The rhythm of your footsteps is unchanging, a slow and steady pulse that carries you forward without effort. You are not thinking about where you are going. You are simply moving, allowing the street to guide you, to unfold in front of you one step at a time. You pass more shop fronts. A bakery, its window dark but smelling faintly of flour, of something warm that lingers from the day before. A bookshop, its windows stacked with old volumes, their spines facing outward, titles you cannot read in the dim light. A cafe, chairs stacked on tables inside, the floor swept clean, waiting for morning. You stop in front of the cafe and look through the glass. You can see the outline of the counter, the shape of an espresso machine, the dark gleam of wood tables. You imagine the sound it will hold in a few hours, the voices, the clatter of cups, the hiss of steam. But now it is silent. Now it is a space holding its breath. Suspended between the night it has just lived and the day it is about to meet. You stand there for a long time, long enough that the light changes again, barely, but enough to notice. The gray is warmer now, not yellow, not golden, but touched with the faintest suggestion of warmth, as though the sun, still hidden somewhere beyond the rooftops and the curve of the earth, is beginning to send its presence forward slowly, patiently, without haste. You turn away from the cafe and continue walking. The street widens again, just slightly, and the buildings on either side pull back, giving more space to the sky. You feel the openness above you, the way the air seems less contained, less pressed down. You look up as you walk, watching the gray deepen into something softer, something that holds the promise of light without yet delivering it. The hum of the city is growing, not louder but more present. You hear it beneath the silence, a low vibration that you feel as much as hear. The distant traffic has become slightly less distant. Somewhere, a bus is moving through the streets, its engine a soft rumble that fades in and out as it turns corners, moves behind buildings, reappears. Somewhere, someone is walking, their footsteps echoing against stone, though you cannot see them. You pass a narrow alley between two buildings and you pause at its entrance. The alley is darker than the street, the light from the lamps not reaching into it. You can see only a few feet in, enough to make out the texture of wet brick, the glint of a puddle, the dark shape of a rubbish bin. You do not enter. You simply stand and look, letting the darkness hold its mystery, and then you move on. The pavement beneath your feet is damp now. You notice it in the way your shoes sound against it, a softer sound, slightly muted. There must have been rain earlier or mist, something that left a thin layer of moisture on everything. You can see it on the iron railings you pass, tiny beads of water clinging to the metal, catching the amber light and holding it for a moment before you move past. You are walking towards something, though you do not know what. The street continues to unfold and you continue to follow it, trusting that it will take you where you need to be, even if you do not know where that is. The act of walking is enough. The act of being here, moving slowly through the edges of the night, is enough. The sky is lighter still. The change is gradual, almost imperceptible, but it is happening. The deep gray is giving way to something paler, something that holds the texture of dawn without yet becoming it. The buildings on either side of the street are more visible now. You can see their details, the brickwork, the window frames, the small balconies, the drain pipes running down from the rooftops. Everything is becoming clearer, more defined, as though the city is slowly coming into focus. You stop again in the middle of the pavement and you simply stand. You are not tired. You are not restless. You are simply here, breathing, watching, feeling the coolness of the air and the stillness of the street and the slow, inevitable movement of time as it carries the night toward morning. A bird calls somewhere above you. A single note, clear and brief, and then silence again. You look up trying to find it, but the sky is too pale now, too filled with light, and you cannot see it. Another bird answers farther away, and then another. The sound is soft, tentative, as though they are testing the air, seeing if it is safe to begin. You lower your gaze and continue walking. The street is beginning to feel familiar, even though you have never been here before. The rhythm of it, the way the buildings stand, the spacing of the streetlights, the curve of the pavement, it all becomes part of a pattern that your body understands without your mind having to name it. You move through it easily, your footsteps steady, your breathing calm. You pass a small park, or what might be a park, a patch of green set back from the street, enclosed by iron railings. The grass is dark, still holding the wetness of the night. A bench sits empty beneath a tree, its wood damp, its metal armrests beaded with moisture. You think about sitting, about resting for a moment, but you do not. You keep walking, letting the park fall behind you, becoming part of the city you are moving through. The light is changing faster now. Not quickly, but with more certainty. The pale gray is beginning to show hints of color, the faintest wash of blue, the suggestion of warmth along the edges of the rooftops. The sun is still not visible. It is still somewhere beyond the horizon, beyond the buildings and the streets and the slow curve of the earth. But it is coming. You can feel it in the way the air is beginning to shift, the way the shadows are becoming less deep, the way the city is starting to breathe differently. You walk on, and the street continues, and the sky continues to lighten, and the night continues to loosen its hold slowly, gently, without urgency, as though it knows there is no need to hurry, as though it knows that morning will arrive whether it is rushed or allowed to come in its own time. You walk until the buildings pull back and the sky opens wider, and then you see it, the river. It appears slowly, revealing itself between the gaps in stone walls, through iron railings, behind the dark shapes of trees that line the embankment. At first, it is just a sense of space, of openness where before there was only the closeness of streets. Then it is a color, a soft gray-blue that sits low beneath the pale morning sky. Then it is movement, barely perceptible, a slow shifting of light and shadow on water. You stop walking when you reach the railing. It is stone, the railing, worn smooth by countless hands, by rain, by time. You place both palms flat against it and feel the coolness of it, the slight dampness from the night. The stone is solid beneath your hands, reassuring in its permanence. You stand there, leaning forward slightly, and you look down at the river. The water moves, but not quickly. It slides past, dark and quiet. its surface holding the light from the sky in a way that makes it seem almost soft, almost gentle. There are ripples, small disturbances that catch the light differently, that create patterns you cannot predict or follow. You watch them appear and disappear. Watch the way they move across the surface and then are gone, replaced by others, by new configurations of light and dark. The air above the river is cooler. You feel it against your face, a subtle shift from the air of the streets. It carries the smell of water, of stone, of something ancient and patient. You breathe it in slowly, letting it fill your lungs, and when you exhale, your breath becomes part of the air above the river, mingling with the coolness, the dampness, the stillness of early morning. You lift your gaze and look across to the far bank. The buildings there are distant, softened by the width of the water between you. You can see their shapes, tall and geometric, rising against the pale sky, but their details are lost to distance. Windows, walls, the edges of rooftops. Everything blurs together into a single line of presence, a suggestion of the city continuing on the other side, living its own quiet morning. A bridge stretches across the river to your left. You turn your head slowly to look at it. The structure is dark against the sky, its lines strong and deliberate. It rises in an arch, or perhaps it is flat. It is difficult to tell from this angle, from this light. What matters is that it is there, connecting one side to the other, spanning the width of the water with a kind of calm authority. You can see the railings along its length, the lampposts that stand at intervals, their lights still glowing amber though the morning has come. No one is crossing. The bridge is empty, waiting. You look back down at the water. There are reflections. The buildings across the river appear again, upside down, stretched and wavering on the surface. The bridge is there too, doubled, its dark form rippling with the movement of the current. The sky reflects, pale and soft, broken into fragments by the small waves. You watch these reflections for a long time. They are not perfect. They shift and change, distorting with every movement of the water, but they hold a kind of truth. The truth of things seen indirectly, things known through their shadows and echoes. You push away from the railing and begin to walk along the embankment. The path is wide here, paved with stone that has been worn smooth by footsteps. On one side is the railing, and beyond it the river. On the other side, trees stand at intervals, their branches bare, their trunks dark. Between the trees are benches, facing the water, waiting for people who have not yet come. You walk past them slowly. Your footsteps quiet, your pace unchanged. The light is growing. Not dramatically, not with any suddenness, but steadily, inevitably. The pale gray of the sky is beginning to show hints of warmth, faint suggestions of pink or gold at the edges, near the horizon. The water reflects this change, becoming lighter, less dark, though it remains muted, soft, as though it is reluctant to fully wake. You stop again, this time at a place where the railing curves slightly, following the shape of the embankment. You rest your arms on top of it and lean forward, looking down into the water below. It is closer here, the water. The embankment drops straight down, a wall of stone, descending to the river's edge, and the water laps against it gently, rhythmically, with a sound so quiet you can barely hear it. But you can feel it, the repetition of it, the small soft sound of water touching stone, pulling back, touching again. You stay there, leaning, breathing, watching. A bird flies low across the water, its wings dark, its movement swift and purposeful. It follows the line of the river, staying close to the surface, and then it is gone, disappearing around a bend or behind a bridge. You do not follow it with your eyes. You let it go, let it become part of the river's story, a small moment that came and passed. The current moves from your right to your left, slow and steady. You watch a piece of debris float past, a branch perhaps, or something else, dark and indistinct. It moves with the water, turning slowly, catching the light, and then it too is gone, carried downstream to wherever the river is going. You stand upright and turn away from the railing. There is a bench nearby, just a few steps along the path. You walk to it and sit down. The wood is damp as you expected. You feel the coolness of it through your clothes, but it does not bother you. You settle into the bench, leaning back, letting your body rest. Your hands rest on your knees. Your feet are flat on the stone path. You are still, and the river is in front of you, and the morning continues to arrive. From here sitting, the river seems wider. The far bank seems farther away. The bridge to your left is more visible now, its full shape revealed. You can see the way it meets the water, the way its supports rise from the river itself, or seem to. Another bridge is visible to your right, farther upstream, a different shape, a different presence. Between them, the river flows, patient and unhurried, as it has flowed for longer than you can imagine. You watch the water. You do not think about it. You simply watch. The surface changes constantly. Light moves across it as clouds shift above, as the sun, still hidden, continues its slow climb. Patterns form and dissolve. Ripples spread from unseen sources, reaching outward in concentric circles before fading into the general movement of the current. The water is never the same from one moment to the next, and yet it is always the river, always itself, always here. A boat appears far upstream, moving slowly toward you. It is low and flat, a working boat, not meant for passengers. You watch it approach. It takes a long time. The river is wide and the boat is in no hurry. It moves with the current, or perhaps against it, you cannot tell. Its engine makes a low sound, a soft rumble that reaches you across the water, muffled and distant. The boat passes in front of you, its wake spreading out behind it, small waves that roll across the surface and reach the embankment wall below where you sit. You hear them, the gentle slap of water against stone, a rhythm that lasts for several moments and then fades as the boat continues downstream. You watch the wake spread and disappear. You watch the water settle back into its previous motion, the ripples smoothing, the surface returning to the slow, steady flow. Another bird calls somewhere behind you. You do not turn to look. You keep your eyes on the river. The light is warmer now. The sky has shifted from gray to something softer, something that holds color without being bright. The buildings across the river are clearer, their windows beginning to catch the light, reflecting it back in small, bright squares. The bridges are more defined, their structures visible in detail, the ironwork, the stone, the shapes of arches or beams. You sit and watch, and time moves the way the river moves, slowly, without markers, without urgency. Minutes pass, or perhaps longer. You do not check. You do not count. You simply remain, sitting on the damp bench, your body still, your mind quiet, your attention resting gently on the river and the light and the slow unfolding of morning. The air is warming slightly. You notice it in the way it touches your face, the way it no longer feels quite so cool. The dampness is lifting, evaporating into the growing light. The city around you, behind you, across the river, along the embankment, is beginning to wake. You sense it more than hear it. A distant door closing, the faint hum of an engine starting, the suggestion of voices far away, too distant to make out words. But here by the river it is still quiet. You stand slowly, leaving the bench behind, and you walk back to the railing. You place your hands on it again, feeling the stone, feeling the solidity of it. You look upstream toward the bridge on your right. The light is catching it now, illuminating one side, leaving the other in shadow. It stands there, spanning the water, patient and strong as it has stood for however long it has stood. You look downstream toward the other bridge. The boat you watched earlier is gone now, vanished around a curve or beneath an arch. The water flows toward it, disappearing beneath the bridge's span, reappearing on the other side, continuing its journey toward the sea. You close your eyes for a moment. You listen, the water moving, the faint sounds of the city stirring, the call of birds more frequent now, more confident, the sound of your own breathing steady and calm. When you open your eyes, the river is still there, still moving, still holding the light of the morning sky. You lean on the railing and watch the reflection shift. The buildings waver on the water's surface, their windows blinking in and out of existence as ripples pass. The sky stretches and compresses, its pale colors mixing with the darker tones of the water. A gull appears white against the soft gray-blue, and it circles once before landing on the railing farther down, folding its wings, settling into stillness. The river flows past you, beneath you, beside you. It has been flowing since before you arrived, and it will continue flowing after you leave. It does not notice you. It does not pause. It simply is, moving through the city, carrying the light, carrying the reflections of bridges and buildings and sky, carrying the debris of the day before and the promise of the day to come. You stand at the railing and breathe, and the water moves, and the morning continues to unfold slowly, gently, in no hurry to become anything other than what it already is. The stone beneath your hands is beginning to lose its coolness. The sun, though still not fully visible, is warming the world incrementally, degree by degree. The shadows along the embankment are shortening, shifting, becoming less deep. The river catches more light now, its surface brightening, the dark gray-blue giving way to something clearer, something that holds a suggestion of green, of brown, of all the colors a river carries within itself. You remain at the railing. There is nowhere else you need to be, nothing else you need to do. The river is here and you are here, and the morning is here, and that is enough. You turn away from the river slowly, and you begin to walk along the embankment, following the stone path as it curves gently inland. The water stays beside you for a while, visible through the railings, and then the buildings begin to gather again, rising on your left, and the openness of the river narrows into streets. But you do not leave the water entirely. The path keeps close to it, and you keep walking unhurried, letting the rhythm of your footsteps carry you forward. The morning has settled into itself now. The light is softer than it was, warmer, though the sun remains hidden behind layers of cloud. The sky is pale, almost white in places, and it presses down gently on the rooftops, on the trees, on the wide stretch of pavement where you walk. The air has lost its coolness. It rests against your skin without weight, without presence. And then you see it ahead of you rising, not suddenly, not all at once, but gradually, piece by piece, as the path curves and the buildings pull back and the perspective shifts. First, a tower, tall and pale, its stone the color of sand or honey or something between. It rises straight and purposeful, breaking the line of the sky, holding itself against the clouds with a kind of patient certainty. Then, beside it, another structure, lower, broader, stretching along the riverbank, its walls punctuated by windows, by arches, by the repeated rhythm of stone and shadow. You slow your steps. You do not stop, not yet, but you slow, letting the shape of the place reveal itself without haste. The tower is intricate. Even from this distance, you can see the detail in it, the lines carved into the stone, the shapes of arches and spires, the way the light catches the edges and leaves the recesses dark. There is a clock face, high up, pale and round, its hands too small to read from here. Above it, more stone, more detail, rising to a point that touches the sky. You stop walking. You stand on the path and you look. The buildings are large, not in a way that impresses, but in a way that simply is. They occupy space. They hold it, claim it, fill it with their mass. The stone walls rise and continue rising, floor after floor, window after window, until they meet the roofline and the sky. The weight of them is visible. You can see it in the thickness of the walls, in the way they stand so solidly against the ground, in the shadows they cast across the pavement and the river. You begin walking again, moving closer. The path narrows slightly, edged by a low stone wall on one side and a wider road on the other. Cars pass occasionally, their engines a low hum, their presence brief and unobtrusive. You do not look at them. You keep your eyes on the buildings ahead, watching them grow larger, more defined as the distance between you and them decreases. The stone is pale. Sandy, yes, but also soft in the morning light, almost glowing. It is old stone. You can see that in the texture of it, in the way some blocks are darker than others, stained or weathered or simply marked by time. There are patches where the surface has eroded slightly, where edges have softened, where the sharpness of the original carving has given way to something gentler, smoother. But the detail remains. Arches, columns, the shapes of pointed windows, their frames carved with patterns that repeat and vary, that hold a kind of rhythm. You cross the road when the moment allows, when the cars have passed and the space is open. The pavement on the other side is wider, and there is a low barrier separating it from the road, a simple metal railing painted black. You walk along it, staying close to the edge, and you stop when you are directly across from the buildings. Here you can see them fully. The tower on your right, tall and slender, rising with its clock face and its ornate crown of stone. To the left, the long stretch of the main building, its facade a continuous surface of windows and arches, of verticality and repetition. The roofline is complex, pointed gables, smaller towers, the jagged silhouette of Gothic forms against the pale sky. You stand and look. You do not move. You simply stand. The buildings do not speak. They do not gesture or invite. They are simply there, massive and still, holding themselves in the space they have occupied for longer than you have been alive. The stone absorbs the light without reflecting it. It holds shadow in its recesses, in the spaces, beneath arches, in the gaps between carved details. The windows are dark, most of them, or show only the faint suggestion of interior light, distant and muted. A bell sounds, not loud, not close, but present. A single chime, deep and resonant, coming from somewhere within or above the tower. It rolls across the air, slow and heavy, and then it fades, absorbed into the morning. You wait, but there are no more. Just the one, marking a moment, and then silence again. You lean against the railing behind you, resting your weight on it, and you continue to look. The stone is not smooth. Even from here, you can see the texture of it, the rough surface of each block, the lines where they meet, the mortar that holds them together. Some blocks are larger than others. Some are carved with patterns, with shapes that might be leaves or flowers or geometric forms. Others are plain, functional, simply part of the wall. The variation creates a kind of visual rhythm, a subtle movement across the facade that your eyes follow without conscious intention. People pass behind you on the pavement. You hear their footsteps, their voices, low and brief. They do not stop. They walk past, going wherever they are going, and you remain leaning, watching. A car passes on the road. A bus, tall and red, moves slowly through the traffic, its windows filled with the shapes of passengers. It passes between you and the buildings, blocking your view for a moment, and then it is gone, and the stone is there again, unchanged. The air is still. There is no wind, no movement except for the occasional passing of vehicles, the occasional person walking. The buildings stand in the stillness, impassive, patient. They do not need anything from the morning, from the people, from the city around them. They simply exist, holding their weight, their history, their purpose without display. You notice the way the windows are arranged. Tall and narrow, pointed at the top, set deep into the stone. Each one is framed by carved detail, columns on either side, arches above, tracery that divides the glass into smaller sections. Some windows have curtains behind them, drawn closed. Others are open to the interior, showing only darkness or the faint glow of artificial light. You wonder what rooms lie behind them, what spaces those windows illuminate, but you do not wonder too deeply. The wondering is gentle, passing like the light moving across the stone. The tower draws your gaze upward. It is impossible not to look up at it, to follow the lines of the stone as they rise, tier by tier, toward the sky. The clock face sits high, its numbers black against white, its hands pointing to a time you do not bother to read. Above it, more stone, more detail, more of the intricate carving that covers every surface. And then at the very top, a spire, pointed and sharp, reaching into the pale expanse above. You lower your gaze and look along the length of the building. It stretches far, farther than you can see from this angle. The facade continues, repeating its patterns, its windows, its arches, until it curves slightly or meets another structure and the line is broken. But even there, the stone continues. The same pale color, the same texture, the same quiet presence. A gull lands on the railing near you, folding its wings, its feathers ruffled slightly by some movement of air you cannot feel. It stands there, looking toward the buildings, or perhaps at nothing in particular. You watch it for a moment. It shifts its weight from one foot to the other, then settles, becoming still. You turn your attention back to the stone. The mass of the buildings is undeniable. They are heavy, not in a way that threatens to fall, but in a way that speaks of foundation, of depth, of something built to remain. The walls are thick. You can see that in the way the windows are set back, in the shadows they cast in the depth of the recesses. The stone is piled upon stone, layer upon layer, reaching upward but also pressing downward into the earth, into whatever lies beneath the pavement and the road. You stand across from them and you feel small but not diminished. The buildings do not tower over you in a way that makes you feel less. They simply are what they are, and you are what you are, and the space between you holds the morning, the light, the quiet passage of time. Another bell sounds. 2 chimes this time, deep and slow, each one rolling outward and fading before the next arrives. You listen until the sound is gone, until the air is still again. The bells are part of the building, part of the stone, part of whatever mechanism turns the hands of the clock high above. They mark the time, but they do not rush it. They simply note its passing, acknowledge it, and then fall silent. You push away from the railing and take a few steps along the pavement, still facing the buildings. The angle changes slightly and new details reveal themselves. A different window, a different arch. The way the light falls on one section of the wall, leaving another in shadow. The buildings shift with your perspective, but they do not change. They remain what they are: stone, weight, form, purpose. You stop again and simply stand. Your hands are in your pockets or at your sides or resting on the railing. It does not matter. What matters is the standing, the looking, the quiet attention you give to the stone and the space and the slow unfolding of the morning around you. The sky has not changed much. It is still pale, still soft, still pressing down gently on the city. The light is even, diffused by clouds you cannot see, spreading across every surface without creating strong shadows or bright highlights. The stone of the buildings holds this light, absorbs it, becomes part of it. You breathe in slowly and you breathe out. The air tastes of the city, of stone and exhaust and river water and something else, something indefinable. You do not think about what it means. You simply breathe and stand and watch. The buildings watch back in their way. Not with eyes, not with intention, but with their presence, their stillness, their refusal to be anything other than what they have always been. They have stood here through mornings like this one, through countless mornings, through days and nights and years and decades. They have watched the river flow, the people pass, the light change. And they will continue to stand, continue to hold their space, long after this morning has faded into memory. You turn slightly, not away from the buildings entirely, but enough to shift your gaze to take in the broader scene. The road, the pavement, the people passing, the river just visible beyond the buildings, a line of pale water reflecting the sky. The morning holds all of it, the stone, the water, the movement, the stillness, and you stand within it, part of it, watching. You turn away from the stone and the weight of the buildings and you walk, not away from the city, but into a different part of it. The pavement leads you along a wide road, then down a quieter street, and then through an opening, a gate perhaps, or simply a gap in the railings. And suddenly there is green, not a garden, not a lawn, but a park spreading out before you, wide and soft and breathing. You stop just inside at the edge of the path and you look. The ground is grass, pale green and damp, stretching away in gentle slopes and flat expanses. Trees stand scattered across it, their trunks dark, their branches bare or just beginning to hold the faint suggestion of new growth. The sky presses down, pale and even, and the light it gives is soft without harshness, spreading across everything with a quiet constancy. You begin to walk along the path. It is paved smooth beneath your feet, winding gently through the green. On either side, the grass is undisturbed except for the occasional bird, small and quick, hopping across the surface, pausing, moving again. You do not hurry. There is no reason to hurry. The path curves and you follow it, letting it guide you deeper into the park. The air is different here, softer. It smells of grass and earth and water, faint and clean. You breathe it in and it settles into your lungs, into your body, and when you exhale, the tension you did not know you were holding releases slightly, gently. Ahead you see water. A lake long and narrow, its surface smooth and pale, reflecting the sky. You walk toward it, your footsteps quiet on the path. As you approach, you begin to see the birds, ducks mostly. Dark ones with green sheen heads floating on the water or standing at the edge, preening themselves with slow, methodical movements. A few white swans, larger, more stately, gliding across the surface with barely a ripple, and other birds, smaller, darting along the shore or perched on low branches overhanging the water. You do not know their names. You do not need to. They are simply there, part of the morning, part of the stillness. You stop at the edge of the lake where the path comes closest to the water. There is no railing here, just a gentle slope of grass leading down to the water's edge. You stand and look out across the lake. It is not large, but it feels expansive, the way still water always does. The far side is lined with trees, their reflections dark and soft on the surface. Beyond them, you can see the shapes of buildings, distant and pale, rising above the green. A duck swims past, close to where you stand. It moves slowly, its head turning from side to side, looking for something in the water or simply looking. Its wake spreads out behind it, small ripples that reach the shore and lap gently against the grass. You watch it until it moves on, until it joins a group of other ducks farther along the lake, and then you turn and continue walking. The path follows the curve of the lake, sometimes close to the water, sometimes pulling back to wind through the trees. You pass a bench empty, its wood dark and damp. You do not sit yet. You keep walking, your pace slow, your attention drifting from the water to the grass to the trees to the sky. Another bench appears, this one positioned with a clear view of the lake. You stop in front of it. You stand there for a moment looking at the water and then you sit. The wood is cool beneath you, slightly damp but not uncomfortably so. You settle into the bench, leaning back, letting your body rest. Your hands rest on your knees or on the armrests or in your lap. Your feet are flat on the ground. You are still and the park is still around you and the morning continues to unfold without urgency. From here sitting, the lake seems wider. The water stretches out, smooth and pale, broken only by the occasional bird. A swan drifts past, its neck curved, its movement slow and deliberate. It does not look at you. It simply moves, gliding across the surface as though time means nothing to it. You sit and watch. Minutes pass, or perhaps longer. You do not count them. You simply remain, your body resting, your mind quiet. The sounds of the park reach you, soft sounds, gentle sounds, the distant call of a bird, the rustle of leaves, though there is no wind you can feel. The faint murmur of voices far away, people walking on other paths, living their own mornings. But here on this bench, you are alone with the water and the birds and the light. A duck dives beneath the surface. disappearing completely, and then reappears a few feet away, shaking its head, water droplets scattering. Another duck follows, and then another, a small ritual of diving and surfacing that continues for a while and then stops as suddenly as it began. You watch them settle back into stillness, floating, waiting, being. The grass near the bench is trimmed short, but beyond it, closer to the water, it grows longer, wilder. You can see the texture of it, the way individual blades catch the light, the way they bend slightly under their own weight. Small flowers dot the grass here and there, white or yellow, tiny and unassuming. You notice them without focusing on them, the way you notice the sound of your own breathing. You stand slowly and you leave the bench behind. You walk along the path again, following the edge of the lake. The water stays beside you, constant and calm. More birds appear, a moorhen dark and small picking its way along the shore, a pigeon fat and gray strutting. Across the path in front of you, you step around it and it does not move, does not acknowledge you, simply continues whatever it was doing. The path curves away from the lake slightly, moving through a cluster of trees. The trunks are thick, their bark rough and dark. You reach out and touch one as you pass, feeling the texture of it, the solidity. The bark is cool, slightly damp, and it leaves a faint residue on your fingertips when you pull your hand away. Beyond the trees, the path opens onto a wider stretch of grass. People are here, a few of them scattered across the green. A person sitting on a blanket reading. Another walking a dog, the animal trotting ahead then circling back. A jogger passes on a parallel path, their footsteps rhythmic and steady, and then they are gone, disappearing around a curve. You watch them without interest, without judgment. They are simply part of the park, part of the morning as you are. You find another bench, facing not the lake but the open grass. You sit again. From here you can see the expanse of the park, the way it spreads out in gentle slopes and flat stretches, the way the trees are spaced across it, creating pockets of shadow and light. The grass is mostly empty. A few birds walk across it, pecking at the ground. A squirrel appears, darting from one tree to another, its movements quick and purposeful. It pauses at the base of a tree, looks around, and then climbs, disappearing into the branches. You sit and breathe. The air moves slightly, just enough to carry the scent of grass, of earth, of something green and alive. The temperature is mild, neither warm nor cool, simply present. The sky remains pale, unchanged, pressing down gently on the park, on the city beyond. Time stretches. You do not feel it passing in the usual way. There are no markers, no events to divide one moment from the next. There is only the sitting, the breathing, the watching, the grass, the trees, the occasional bird, the light, soft and even, touching everything without emphasis. A child's voice calls out, distant, followed by laughter. You do not turn to look. You let the sound reach you and then fade, becoming part of the larger quietness of the park. You stand again eventually. Not because you need to, but because your body wants to move gently without urgency. You walk back toward the lake, following a different path this time, one that winds through more trees, past more benches, past small clusters of flowers planted in careful beds. The lake appears again and you stop at its edge. The water is still smooth, still pale, still holding the reflections of trees and sky. A group of ducks has gathered near the shore, some on the water, some on the grass. They are quiet, resting. their heads tucked into their feathers or turning slowly, watching the world with calm, dark eyes. You watch them for a long time, long enough that one of the ducks waddles closer, curious or simply unafraid. It stops a few feet from you, looks at you, and then turns away, uninterested. You do not move. You simply stand and the duck moves on, rejoining the others. The light shifts slightly, not dramatically, but enough to notice. A thinning of the clouds, perhaps, or a change in the angle of the sun, still hidden but present. The water brightens just a little and the reflections become clearer, sharper. The trees across the lake stand out more distinctly against the sky. You begin to walk again, slowly, following the path as it curves around the far end of the lake. Here, the water narrows and you can see reeds growing at the edges, tall and green, swaying slightly though there is no wind. Small birds flit among them, quick and agile, landing on the stems, then taking off again. The sound of their wings is soft, barely audible, like whispers. You pass a bridge, low and arched, spanning a narrow section of the lake. You do not cross it. You simply look at it, at the way its reflection doubles it on the water, at the way the light catches the curve of the stone. Then you move on. Another bench. You sit once more. This one faces back toward the direction you came from, offering a different view of the lake, of the trees, of the grass. You lean back and rest, your body settling into the familiar position. Your breathing is slow. Your mind is quiet. The park breathes around you, soft and steady. A pelican appears on the water, large and white, its beak enormous and strange. It floats past, unhurried, dignified, its presence both unexpected and completely natural. You watch it glide across the lake. Watch the way it holds itself, the way it seems to belong here as much as the ducks or the swans or the trees. It moves out of sight behind a cluster of reeds and you do not follow it with your gaze. You simply let it go. The morning continues. The park continues. You sit and stand and walk and sit again, moving through the green space with no destination, no purpose beyond being here, being present, allowing the time to pass the way it wants to pass. Eventually, you stand one last time. You turn away from the lake, away from the benches and the grass and the birds. You walk toward the edge of the park where the path begins to lead back toward the city. But you do not hurry. Your steps are slow, deliberate, carrying you forward gently. The trees thin. The grass gives way to pavement. The sounds of the city begin to reach you again, distant traffic, voices, the hum of movement. But you are still in the park, still surrounded by green, still held within its quietness. You walk slowly toward the boundary, toward the place where the park meets the streets and the morning waits ahead. You leave the park behind and the streets receive you. Not all at once, but gradually. The pavement changes beneath your feet, becoming harder, more worn. The buildings press closer on either side, rising in brick and stone, their walls painted white or cream or left bare, stained by weather and time. The streets narrow, and the sky above becomes a strip of pale light between rooftops. Facebook, you are moving into a different part of the city now. The buildings are older here, or seem older, their facades holding layers of use, of occupancy, of lives lived behind windows and doors. The architecture is irregular. Some buildings 3 stories, some 4, some leaning slightly, their lines not quite straight, their heights not quite matching. There is a kind of intimacy to it, the way everything stands so close together, the way the streets curve and bend, revealing themselves slowly. TripAdvisor, you walk without direction. A street opens before you, narrow and paved with stones worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. You follow it. The buildings on either side are close enough that you could reach out and touch both walls if you stood in the center, but you do not. You walk along one side, your hand occasionally brushing against brick, against painted wood, against the cool metal of a drain pipe. The morning has settled into itself. The light is fuller now, warmer though still soft, diffused by the lingering clouds. Shadows fall gently across the street, cast by buildings, by ledges, by the frames of windows. You notice the way the light touches things, the edge of a doorway, the corner of a window, the texture of old brick. A door opens ahead of you. A person steps out, carrying a folded sign. They set it on the pavement, adjust it, and then disappear back inside. You pass the sign without reading it, though you notice the door is propped open now, and inside you can see the warm glow of lights, the shapes of tables and chairs. TripAdvisor, you continue walking. The street curves slightly, and another opens to your left, even narrower. You turn into it. Here, the buildings seem to lean inward, their upper floors closer together than their bases. Fire escapes cling to the walls, dark metal zigzagging upward. Windows are small, some with boxes beneath them, empty now, waiting for spring. You hear a sound behind you, a low rumble. You step aside as a delivery van moves slowly down the street, its engine muted, its passage careful. It stops farther along and a person gets out, opens the back, begins unloading boxes. The sound is quiet, methodical, the scrape of cardboard, the soft thud of weight being set down. You watch for a moment, then move on. Another cafe is opening. You see it through the window as you pass. Someone inside, moving between tables, setting out small vases, adjusting chairs. The chairs are metal, painted black, their seats round. Some are already outside, arranged on the narrow pavement, waiting. You pause and look through the glass. The interior is small, just a few tables, a counter at the back. Shelves lined with cups and glasses. The person inside glances up, sees you, offers a small nod. You nod back and continue walking. Arlo Hotels, the street widens slightly, enough for two people to pass comfortably. You hear voices ahead, muted and soft, a conversation in a language you do not recognize. Two people stand near a doorway, holding cups, speaking quietly. You pass them and they do not pause, do not acknowledge you. Their words fade behind you, becoming part of the ambient sound of the street. You reach a corner and you stop, not to cross, but simply to stand. The street continues in front of you, curving away to the right. To your left, another street, narrower, cobbled, with a single lamppost standing halfway down. You look both ways, taking in the shapes, the colors, the textures. Brick in shades of red and brown and gray. Painted facades in cream and pale blue and faded yellow. Windows dark or lit softly from within. Instagram, you choose the cobbled street. Your footsteps sound different here, a softer rhythm against the uneven stones. The buildings on either side are low, 2 or 3 stories, with shop fronts at street level. Most are still closed, their shutters down, their windows dark. But one is open, a small bakery, its window fogged slightly from the warmth inside. You can smell bread, faint and sweet, carried on the air. You stop in front of the window and look in. Inside, a person is arranging pastries on a tray, their movements careful and practiced. The pastries are golden, some dusted with sugar, some glazed. Shelves behind the counter hold loaves of bread, dark and light, round and long. The person looks up, sees you watching, and smiles briefly before returning to their work. You do not go inside. You simply stand, breathing in the smell, watching the quiet activity, and then you move on. The street bends and you follow it. A cat appears, sitting on a windowsill, its tail wrapped around its paws. It watches you approach, unblinking, and does not move as you pass. Its fur is gray, striped with darker gray, and its eyes are green, pale, and steady. You look at it and it looks back, and then you are past, and the cat remains, a small point of stillness in the morning. Another corner, another choice. You turn right into a slightly wider street, where the buildings pull back just enough to allow small tables and chairs outside several doorways. Most are empty, the chairs stacked or pushed together, waiting. But at one table someone sits, a cup in front of them, a book open in their hands. They do not look up as you pass. They are absorbed elsewhere, held by whatever words they are reading. You walk slowly, pausing often, at a doorway to look at the worn steps leading up, at a window to see the reflection of the street behind you, wavering on the glass, at a lamppost to notice the way the metal is painted black, glossy and smooth near the top, chipped and rusted near the base. These small observations come without effort, without intention. They simply arrive, part of the texture of moving through this place. TripAdvisor: a shop is opening farther down the street. You hear the sound of shutters being raised, the metallic rattle and clang, and then the softer sound of a door being unlocked, opened. A person steps out, sweeping the pavement in front of the shop with slow, deliberate strokes. The bristles of the broom scrape against the stone, gathering leaves, dust, small debris. The person works quietly, methodically, and you pass without speaking, without interrupting. The street narrows again, becoming almost an alley. Walls rise on either side, close and shadowed. Overhead, the buildings lean toward each other, their upper floors almost touching. The light here is dimmer, filtered, and the air feels cooler, held between the walls. You walk through this narrowness slowly, your footsteps echoing softly, and then the street opens again and the light returns. You emerge into a small square, or what might be called a square, a widening of the street, a space where several paths meet. In the center, there is a bicycle rack half full. Bicycles lean against it, their frames scratched, their seats worn. Around the edges of the space, more cafes, more shops, some open, some still preparing. You cross the space slowly, not choosing a direction, just moving, letting your feet decide. A door opens to your right and the smell of coffee reaches you, strong and dark. You glance inside and see a small space, crowded with people standing at a counter, waiting. The sound of voices, low and blending together, the hiss of a steam wand, the clatter of a cup being set down. You do not enter. You continue across the space, heading toward the street that opens on the far side. This street is busier, though still quiet by the standards of a city fully awake. People walk past, some alone, some in pairs, moving with purpose or wandering as you are. You step to the side to let someone pass, and they nod in thanks. Another person approaches from the opposite direction, and you both adjust your paths slightly, moving around each other with the small, unspoken choreography of pedestrians. You stop again, this time in front of a building with a painted facade, pale green, the paint peeling in places to reveal older layers beneath, white cream, the bare wood underneath. The door is dark blue, its surface weathered, and beside it a window displays nothing, just an empty space behind dusty glass. You do not know what the building is or was. It simply stands there, part of the street, holding its silence. The voices around you are muted. Conversations drift past, fragments of words, tones without meaning. Laughter brief and soft. The murmur of someone talking on a phone, their voice low and rhythmic. A greeting exchanged between two people who know each other, quick and warm. These sounds come and go, part of the soundscape of the street, no louder than the rustle of a newspaper being folded, the click of a dog's nails on the pavement, the distant hum of traffic on a larger road somewhere nearby. You walk on, turning down another side street, this one lined with planters, some holding small trees, their branches bare, others filled with greenery, low and dense. The planters are stone, heavy and weathered, and they sit at intervals along the pavement, creating a rhythm, a pattern. You walk between them, noticing the way they divide the space, the way they soften the hardness of the stone and brick. Instagram, a man is setting out chairs at a cafe ahead. He works slowly, placing each one just so, aligning them with the edge of the table, stepping back to check, adjusting. He does not hurry. He moves with the ease of repetition, of something done many times before. You watch him for a moment, then continue past. He does not look up. The street curves again, revealing more buildings, more doorways, more windows. Some are residential, you can tell by the curtains, by the small details of personal life visible through the glass. A plant on a sill, a lamp left on, the edge of a bookshelf. Others are commercial, waiting to open or just opening, their interiors still dim, their signs unlit. You reach another corner and you stop. You lean against the wall, feeling the coolness of the brick through your clothes, and you simply stand. People pass. A cyclist goes by, unhurried, their bike old and heavy, its chain clicking softly with each rotation. A couple walks past, holding hands, their voices low, intimate. A person with a backpack stops nearby, checks their phone, then continues on. The city breathes around you, not loudly, not urgently, but steadily. The opening of doors, the movement of people, the small sounds of commerce and life beginning to stir. The light continues to warm, the shadows continue to shift, the morning continues to unfold into day. You push away from the wall and begin walking again, following the street as it winds deeper into the warren of lanes and passages. The buildings change slightly, some taller now, some with larger windows, some with balconies, small and iron-railed, holding nothing but the morning air. You pass beneath one and glance up, seeing the underside of the balcony, the rust on the metal, the way it casts a shadow on the wall behind it. Another delivery is happening. A person carries a stack of newspapers into a shop, the door held open by a wedge. The papers are heavy, the person moves carefully, and the door closes behind them with a soft thud. You hear voices inside, muffled, and then silence again as you move past. You are not tired. You are not restless. You are simply here, moving through the streets, part of the rhythm of the morning, part of the slow gathering of the day. The streets continue to unfold, one after another, each slightly different, each holding its own details, its own small moments. You walk and pause and walk again, and the city receives you, holds you, allows you to drift through it without question. You follow the streets until they open, and suddenly there is space above you. Not just sky, but air, held within walls, contained beneath a roof of glass and iron. You have entered a covered space, a hall, though it is open at the sides. Columns rise around you, pale stone, thick and plain, holding the structure above. The columns stand in rows, creating passages, arcades that run along the edges of the space. Between them, the floor is paved with stone, worn smooth, and above, the glass roof lets in light, soft and diffused, spreading across everything without creating sharp shadows. Victorian Web +1 people are here. Not many, not yet, but enough that you are aware of them. Their presence is gentle, unhurried. Some walk through the space, crossing from one side to the other. Others stand in small groups, talking quietly. A few sit on the edges of raised platforms, resting, waiting, watching. You do not move quickly into the space. You stand just inside, near one of the columns, and you look. The hall is large, but not vast. You can see across it to the far side, where more columns stand, where more light falls through the glass above. The roof is supported by iron beams, dark and geometric, creating a lattice pattern against the pale sky beyond. The beams cast faint shadows on the stone below, lines that shift slightly as clouds move overhead. Victorian Web +1, the sound here is different. Your footsteps echo just slightly as you begin to walk. The stone floor amplifies them, sends them outward, where they meet other sounds, other footsteps, voices, the distant scrape of a chair being moved. The sounds blend together, creating a kind of ambient hum, soft and layered. You cannot separate one sound from another. They exist together, filling the space without overwhelming it. You walk slowly along one of the arcades beneath the columns. The arcade creates a passage, half inside, half outside, sheltered by the roof but open to the air at the sides. People pass you, moving in the opposite direction. A woman with a bag, a man checking his phone, two people talking, their voices low. You step aside when necessary, allowing them to pass, and they do the same for you. A quiet exchange of space and courtesy. At the center of the hall, the floor opens slightly, dropping down a few steps to a lower level. You stop at the edge and look down. More people are there, some sitting on the steps, some standing, some moving between the levels. The light falls differently here, filtered through the glass above, creating patches of brightness and shadow. You watch the movement, the way people drift from one place to another, their paths crossing and separating, their presence constant but never still. A sound reaches you, music faint and distant. You cannot see where it comes from. It drifts through the space, notes blending with the ambient sound, becoming part of the texture. You do not try to locate its source. You simply let it reach you, let it exist as part of the whole. You turn and walk toward the far end of the hall, where the columns give way to open space, to the piazza beyond. The transition is gradual. The roof pulls back and the sky appears pale and soft. The stone continues, but now it is fully outside, fully exposed to the air and the light. Wikipedia. The piazza is wider than the hall, an open square surrounded by buildings. The buildings are tall, their facades painted cream or white, their windows dark or reflecting the light of the morning. At ground level, shops and cafes line the edges, some open, some still preparing. Tables and chairs are arranged outside, a few occupied, most waiting. You walk to the edge of the piazza and you stop. You do not cross into the center. You stand near the buildings in the space between the columns and the open square, and you watch. People move through the piazza like currents in water. Some walk with purpose, heading toward exits, toward streets that lead elsewhere. Others wander, pausing to look at shop windows, stopping to talk, sitting at tables. Their movement is varied, individual, but together it creates a pattern. A rhythm that you can sense but not define. A performer is setting up in the piazza. You see them from a distance, arranging something on the ground, adjusting their position. You do not move closer. You do not watch what they are doing. You simply note their presence, the way they occupy a small circle of space, the way people begin to gather around them slowly, casually, forming a loose perimeter. You turn away and walk along the edge of the piazza, following the arcade. The columns here are the same as those inside, pale stone, thick and solid, spaced at regular intervals. They create a sheltered walkway and you move beneath them, your footsteps echoing softly against the stone ceiling above. English buildings. Blogspot +1, a bench appears, set back slightly from the main flow of movement. You sit. From here you can see the piazza, but you are not in it. You are at its edge, held within the arcade, separate but present. You settle onto the bench, your body relaxing, your breathing slowing. Stone is cool beneath you, and you rest your hands on your knees, your feet flat on the ground. The piazza continues to fill slowly. More people arrive, entering from different streets, moving through the space, adding their presence to the collective motion. Voices rise and fall, blending together into a low murmur that fills the air without dominating it. Laughter, brief and light. A child's call answered by an adult. The rustle of bags, the scrape of a chair being pulled out, the soft thud of footsteps on stone. You watch the way people move. Some in pairs, walking close together, their steps synchronized. Others alone, moving at their own pace, stopping when they choose, continuing when they are ready. Groups form and dissolve, people meeting, parting, continuing on. The movement is constant, but it is not frantic. It is simply the movement of people living their day, being in this place, occupying this moment. The light shifts slightly as clouds move overhead. The brightness dims, then returns softer. Shadows on the piazza floor change shape, lengthen or shorten, depending on the angle of the light filtering through the breaks in the clouds. You notice these changes without focusing on them, the way you notice your own breathing, present, constant, essential. The performer in the piazza begins. You hear it before you see it, a sound rising above the ambient murmur, a voice or an instrument you cannot tell from here. The gathered crowd shifts slightly, adjusting to see better, and the sound continues, rhythmic and deliberate. You do not turn to look. You remain on the bench, watching the broader movement, the way the piazza holds all of it. The performer, the audience, the people passing through, the light, the sound. Minutes pass. The bench beneath you loses its coolness, warmed slightly by your presence. Your body settles further into stillness, your mind quieting, your attention resting gently on the scene before you. There is no urgency here, no need to move or act or decide. You are simply sitting, watching, being present in this space that holds so much movement while remaining itself unchanged. Find in London a couple sits at a nearby table, their heads closed together, talking. A server approaches, sets down cups and moves away. The couple continues talking, their voices too low to hear, their gestures small and private. You watch them for a moment, then let your gaze drift elsewhere. A child runs across the piazza, arms outstretched, laughing. An adult follows, slower, calling out gently. The child circles back, is caught, lifted briefly, set down again. The moment passes, becomes part of the larger motion, the larger rhythm. The columns around you stand in their steady rows, unmoved by the activity they frame. They have stood here longer than the people, longer than the movement, holding the structure, holding the space. The stone is worn in places, smoothed by touch, by weather, by time. You reach out and place your hand on the column nearest you, feeling the coolness, the solidity. The stone receives your touch without response, without change. You sit for a long time, longer than necessary, longer than anyone might think to sit. But time here feels different. It does not press. It does not hurry. It simply continues, moving at its own pace, and you move with it, or you do not move at all, and it makes no difference. The sounds of the piazza blend into a kind of music, not organized, not composed, but harmonious in its randomness. Footsteps and voices and the scrape of chairs and the distant music and the sound of your own breathing, all existing together, all part of the same moment. You close your eyes briefly, not to sleep, but to listen, to feel the space without seeing it. The coolness of the air, the hardness of the bench, the sound surrounding you near and far. When you open your eyes again, the piazza is still there, still moving, still holding its motion and its stillness in equal measure. You stand slowly, leaving the bench behind. You do not hurry. You stretch slightly, feeling the stiffness of sitting leave your body, and then you begin to walk. You move back through the arcade beneath the columns, your footsteps soft against the stone. The covered hall appears again, and you walk through it, past the people, past the light falling through the glass roof, past the columns standing in their patient rows. You do not look back. You simply walk slowly, allowing the space to fall behind you, allowing the sounds to fade as you move toward the exit, toward the streets that wait beyond. The piazza continues without you. The movement continues. The light continues to shift. The sounds continue to blend. The people continue to move through the space, and the columns continue to stand, holding everything, holding nothing, simply being what they have always been. You reach the edge of the covered hall where it opens onto a street, and you step through, back into the narrowness of the city, back into the quiet lanes and the close buildings, and the morning that continues to unfold. You walk until the streets lead you back to the river, and when you arrive, you turn toward a bridge. The bridge rises ahead of you, spanning the width of the water, connecting one side to the other. It is not ornate, not dramatic. It is simply a bridge doing what bridges do, holding space above the river, allowing passage from here to there. The structure is solid, made of stone or iron or both, its surface paved for vehicles and pedestrians alike. A pathway runs along the side, separated from the road by a low barrier, and you step onto it. The transition is immediate. One moment you are on solid ground, the street beneath your feet, buildings on either side. The next moment, the ground falls away to your left, and there is only air, and below the air, far below the river. You walk slowly, your hand trailing along the railing. The metal is cool, smooth in some places, slightly rough in others where weather has worked on it. The railing is painted, dark green or black, and the paint is chipped in spots, revealing older layers beneath, or the metal itself dull and gray. To your right, traffic passes. Cars, buses, taxis moving in a steady stream, their engines creating a low hum that fills the air without dominating it. The sound is constant, unchanging, a background presence that you stop noticing after a few moments, the way you stop noticing the sound of rain when it has been falling for a long time. The vehicles move past and you do not look at them. You keep your eyes forward or on the railing or on the river below. The bridge curves slightly, or perhaps it is flat. It is difficult to tell from here, from this angle. What you notice is the length of it, the way it stretches out ahead, the way the far side seems distant, not unreachable but requiring time, requiring the steady accumulation of footsteps to cross. Other people walk on the bridge. Some move quickly, purposefully, heading across without pause. Others walk more slowly, like you, taking their time. You pass a couple walking together, their pace leisurely, and they step aside slightly to let you by. You nod and they nod back, and then you are past them and the bridge stretches on. The afternoon light is different from the morning light. It is warmer, more golden, though still soft, still filtered by clouds that have gathered and dispersed and gathered again throughout the day. The light falls across the river, turning its surface from gray to something richer, something that holds hints of brown and green and gold, all shifting with the movement of the. You walk until you are roughly halfway across, and then you stop. The railing is here, solid and waiting. You turn toward it, toward the river, and you lean forward, resting your arms on top of the railing, letting it take some of your weight. The metal presses against your forearms, firm and unyielding, and you settle into the position, your body finding its balance, your breathing slowing. Below you, the river moves. It is far down. Farther than it seemed from the embankment, farther than it seemed when you were standing at its edge. From here, suspended above it, the distance feels immense. The water is a different element, existing in a different plane, and you are held between it and the sky, neither touching the ground nor flying, simply suspended, watching. The water's surface is constantly changing. The current flows, steady and unhurried, carrying the river downstream toward the sea. Ripples form and dissolve, patterns emerge and disappear. The light catches on small waves and scatters. You watch this movement without trying to follow any single part of it. You let your eyes rest on the whole, on the general motion, on the sense of flow rather than the specifics. The wind reaches you here in the middle of the bridge. It moves across the open expanse of the river, unobstructed by buildings, and it touches your face, your hair, your clothes. It is not strong, not forceful, but it is present. You feel it against your skin, cool and constant, carrying the smell of the river, of water and stone and distance. You breathe it in and it fills your lungs with something clean, something that feels larger than the streets, larger than the city itself. Behind you, the traffic continues. The hum of engines, the occasional acceleration, the soft rush of tires against pavement. The sounds blend together, creating a kind of white noise, steady and continuous. Footsteps pass behind you, people crossing the bridge, their shoes making different sounds. The click of heels, the soft pad of sneakers, the heavier thud of boots. These sounds come and go, rising briefly above the traffic noise and then fading as the people move on. You remain leaning on the railing and you do not move. Minutes pass. The river flows. The wind continues to move across the water across your face. The light shifts slightly as clouds change overhead, dimming and brightening in gentle increments. The sounds behind you remain constant. Traffic, footsteps, the distant call of a bird, the faint hum of the city on both sides of the river. You look upstream, toward where the river curves out of sight between buildings. The water comes from there, flowing toward you, flowing past you, continuing on downstream. Boats move on it far in the distance. A small vessel, low and flat, making its way slowly against or with the current, you cannot tell which. The boat is too far away to make out details. It is simply a shape dark against the lighter water, moving slowly, patiently as the river moves. You look downstream, toward the far distance where the river continues, where it widens and eventually reaches the sea. The perspective is long, the water stretching away into the haze of the afternoon. Buildings line both banks, their shapes softened by distance, their details lost. The river flows toward them, past them, beyond them, carrying whatever it carries. Water from upstream, debris, the reflections of the sky, the weight of its own history. A gull appears, flying low over the water. It moves with the current, its wings steady, barely moving, gliding on the air. It passes beneath you under the bridge and emerges on the other side, continuing its path downstream. You watch it until it becomes too small to see clearly, just another point of movement in the larger motion of the river and the sky. You shift your weight slightly, adjusting your position against the railing. Your arms are beginning to feel the pressure of the metal, a dull ache forming where they rest. You do not move away. You simply adjust, redistributing the weight, finding a new point of balance. The ache fades, becomes part of the background sensations of standing, breathing, watching. The bridge vibrates slightly beneath your feet. You feel it more than hear it, a subtle tremor that comes with each passing vehicle, each bus or truck that crosses. The vibration travels through the structure, up through your feet, into your legs, and then dissipates. It is not unpleasant. It is simply part of being on the bridge, part of the experience of standing on something that is both solid and alive with motion. You close your eyes for a moment, listening. The traffic hum, the wind, the faint sound of water moving far below, barely audible, more felt than heard. Your own breathing steady and calm. The sounds layer over each other, creating a kind of symphony, unorchestrated but harmonious in its randomness. When you open your eyes, the river is still there, still flowing. A piece of wood floats past, caught in the current, turning slowly as it moves. You watch it drift downstream. Watch it become smaller. Watch it disappear around a bend or simply become too small to distinguish from the water itself. The far bank is visible across the river. Buildings rise there, similar to those on this side, brick and stone. Windows reflecting the afternoon light, rooftops holding the sky. Between here and there, the river flows, a barrier and a connection, separating and joining in equal measure. You look across to the other side, to the place where you will be when you finish crossing, and it seems both near and far, both reachable and distant. You remain at the railing. There is no reason to hurry, no reason to move. The bridge holds you, the river flows beneath you, the afternoon continues around you. Time stretches, the way it does when you are not measuring it, when you are simply allowing it to pass through you, over you, around you. A cyclist passes behind you, the soft whir of their wheels on pavement, the quiet rhythm of their breathing. They are gone quickly, swallowed by the length of the bridge, and the sound of traffic resumes its dominance. You notice your hands on the railing, the way your fingers curve around the metal, the way your palms press against it. The coolness has faded slightly. The metal has warmed from your touch, or you have cooled to match its temperature. Either way, the difference is less noticeable now. You are part of the bridge for this moment, connected to it through touch, through presence. The light is beginning to change, not dramatically, but enough to sense. The afternoon is moving toward evening, the sun lowering somewhere behind the clouds, and the quality of the light is shifting. Still soft, still gentle, but with a hint of something deeper, something that suggests the approach of dusk, though it is still far off. You take a deep breath, filling your lungs completely, and then you exhale slowly. The breath leaves you, becomes part of the air above the river, mingles with the wind, and is carried away. You push yourself upright, straightening your back, lifting your arms from the railing. The metal has left faint impressions on your skin, lines that fade quickly as blood returns to the surface. You flex your fingers, feeling the slight stiffness, and then you turn away from the river. You begin walking again. Your footsteps resume their rhythm, soft against the pavement. The bridge stretches ahead, its far end closer now, more defined. You can see where it meets the land, where the pathway descends back to street level, where the buildings gather again to line the roads. You walk slowly, maintaining the pace you have held all day. There is no reason to hurry now, just as there has been no reason to hurry before. The bridge passes beneath your feet section by section, and you simply continue, one step after another, steady and calm. People pass you, moving faster. You step aside when needed, allowing them their speed, their urgency. They do not look at you, and you do not look at them. You are simply two bodies sharing the same space briefly before parting, moving in the same direction or opposite directions, each following their own path. The far end of the bridge approaches. The land appears beneath the pavement, solid and permanent. The river falls behind you, still flowing, still carrying its water downstream. The sound of traffic changes slightly as buildings draw near again, the sound bouncing off walls, filling the street differently than it filled the open space above the river. You reach the end of the bridge and step off it, onto the pavement of the opposite bank. The transition is subtle. The ground beneath your feet shifts from bridge to street. The air shifts from the openness above water to the containment between buildings. You are on the other side now, the crossing complete. You do not stop. You do not look back. You simply continue walking, moving away from the bridge into the streets that wait beyond, and the afternoon holds you, carries you forward, allows you to keep drifting through the city as the light continues to change and the day continues to unfold. You walk along the river's edge on the southern bank now, where the path is wide and open to the pavement here is broad, meant for many people, though it is not crowded now. It stretches along the river, following its curve, a continuous ribbon of stone that connects this part of the city to the next. On one side, the Thames flows wide and slow, its surface catching the light of the afternoon. On the other side, buildings rise, some low, some tall, their purposes varied and quiet. You walk slowly as you have walked all day. There is no difference in your pace, no urgency that has suddenly appeared. The afternoon holds the same quality of time as the morning did, the same sense of moments stretching, filling the space they are given. The light is warmer now. Not bright, not harsh, but warmer. The sun, still hidden behind layers of cloud, has moved lower in the sky, and though you cannot see it directly, you can feel the change it brings. The light that falls across the river has a golden quality to it, a softness that was not there earlier. It spreads across the water, turning the gray-blue to something richer, something that holds amber and honey and the faint promise of evening. The river beside you is constant. It flows as it has flowed all day, moving from upstream to downstream, carrying its water toward the sea. The surface moves in patterns, ripples, small waves, the occasional smooth stretch that reflects the sky like glass before another disturbance breaks it. You glance at the water as you walk, not studying it, just acknowledging its presence, the way you might acknowledge a companion walking beside you. Lampposts line the path at intervals. They are dark metal, their bases thick, their tops holding lights that are not yet lit. Small details are cast into the metal, shapes you do not examine closely, patterns that suggest something organic, something from the water perhaps. The posts stand at regular intervals, marking distance, creating rhythm, though you do not count them. You pass a bench and you do not sit. You continue walking. The path curves gently, following the river's line, and you follow the path. To your left, across the water, you can see the buildings of the opposite bank. They rise against the sky, their windows beginning to catch the warm light, reflecting it back in small, bright squares. The distance between here and there seems both vast and narrow, the river both a division and a connection. People walk along the path. Some move toward you, some move in the same direction. You pass them or they pass you, and these moments of proximity are brief and unremarkable. A person jogging, their breathing steady. Two people walking together, not speaking. Someone standing at the railing, looking at the river, their posture still. You move past these presences without engaging, without more than a glance, and they move past you in the same way. The sound of the river is faint from here. You cannot hear the water itself, not over the ambient sounds of the city, the distant traffic, the footsteps on stone, the murmur of voices. But you know the river is moving, know it is there, and that knowledge is enough. The presence of water does not always need to be heard to be felt. You slow your steps and move toward the railing. The metal is waist-high, solid, painted the same dark color as the lampposts. You reach it and rest your hands on top, and you stand, looking out across the river. From here, the water spreads before you, wide and unhurried. A boat moves across it, distant and slow, leaving a wake that fans out behind it and eventually reaches the banks on both sides. The wake is gentle, barely disturbing the surface, and it fades quickly, absorbed back into the larger motion of the river. You watch the boat until it moves out of sight. disappearing behind a bridge or simply becoming too far to distinguish from the water itself. The sky above the river is pale. Clouds fill it, layered and soft, moving slowly in currents of air you cannot feel from here. The light filters through these clouds, diffused and even spreading across everything without creating strong shadows. But the warmth is there, a golden cast that touches the edges of things, the tops of buildings, the railings, the surface of the water. You stand at the railing for a long time, long enough that your hands warm the metal beneath them, long enough that people pass behind you, their footsteps coming and going, and you do not turn to look, long enough that the light shifts just slightly, deepening by increments so small you do not notice them individually, only collectively as the accumulation of time. When you move again, you move slowly. You leave the railing and continue along the path, walking in the same direction you were walking before. The river stays beside you, constant and flowing. The buildings on your right begin to change, taller here, more modern, their surfaces glass and steel. But they do not press close to the path. They hold back, allowing space, allowing the openness that defines this place. You pass beneath a bridge. The path continues under its span and you walk through the shadow it creates. The light dims briefly, the warmth leaving the air, and then you emerge on the other side and the light returns, softer now, warmer. The bridge rises above and behind you, its structure holding traffic, holding people crossing from one bank to the other. But here, beneath it, there is only the path and the river and the continuation of your walking. A bench appears, positioned to face the water. You stop in front of it. You look at it, at the worn wood, at the metal frame, and then you sit. The stone of the pavement is beneath your feet. The wood of the bench is beneath you, cool at first, then gradually warming. You settle into the seat, leaning back slightly, letting your body rest. Your hands rest on your knees or on the armrests or folded in your lap. Your breathing slows, becomes part of the rhythm of sitting, of watching, of being still. From here, the river fills your view. The water moves past, left to right, flowing downstream. The opposite bank is visible, distant, its buildings rising in layers. Low structures near the water, taller ones behind, the skyline a jagged line against the pale sky. The light touches these buildings differently now, the warmth more pronounced, the shadows deeper. Windows reflect the light, glowing faintly, and the stone and brick absorb it, holding it in their textures. People pass behind you on the path. You hear them, footsteps, voices, the occasional laugh, but you do not turn to look. You keep your eyes on the river, on the water that continues to flow, on the light that continues to change, on the afternoon that continues to stretch itself toward evening without quite arriving. A bird lands on the railing a few feet away. It is small, dark, and it turns its head quickly from side to side, looking for something. It hops along the railing, stops, looks, hops again. You watch it without moving, and it does not seem to notice you, or it notices but does not care. After a moment, it lifts into the air and flies away, disappearing over the water. The river reflects the sky, which reflects the light, which reflects the passage of time. The water is darker in some places, lighter in others, depending on the angle, the depth, the way the current moves. Patches of smoothness alternate with patches of ripples. Reflections appear and dissolve. The whole surface is in constant motion, and yet from moment to moment it looks almost the same, almost unchanged. You sit and watch, and minutes pass, or more than minutes. The light deepens. The warmth in it grows richer, more golden, more amber. The shadows on the opposite bank lengthen, stretching across the walls, across the windows, reaching toward the roof lines. The sky begins to show the faintest hint of color at its edges, near the horizon. Not pink, not orange, but the suggestion of warmth, the promise of something more to come. People walking along the path are becoming silhouettes. Not entirely, not yet, but the light is behind them or beside them, and their shapes are beginning to lose detail. You see them as forms rather than faces. A person walking a dog, the shapes of both outlined against the lighter background of the river. Two people standing at the railing, their postures relaxed, their features indistinct. Someone cycling past, the frame of the bicycle and the person merging into a single moving shape. These silhouettes come and go, part of the flow of the path, part of the movement of the afternoon. You stand from the bench slowly and you begin walking again. Your body remembers the rhythm and your feet find it easily. The path continues and you continue with it, moving along the river's edge, following the curve of the water, letting the afternoon carry you forward. The sound of the city is deepening. Not growing louder, but deepening, the way light deepens as day moves toward evening. Traffic hums on distant roads, a low, constant presence. Voices rise and fall, conversations passing by, words you do not hear clearly, only tones and rhythms. Somewhere music plays, a street performer perhaps, or a radio, or something carried on the air from a building nearby. The sound is faint, distant, blending with the other sounds, becoming part of the texture. You pass more benches, more lampposts, more sections of railing. The path is repetitive in its elements, but each section holds its own small differences. The way the light falls here versus there, the angle of the view across the river, the presence or absence of people. You notice these differences without focusing on them, the way you notice the spaces between your breaths. Another bench. You sit again. This one faces slightly downstream, offering a different perspective. The river flows past, the same river, the same water, but seen from a new angle. Buildings across the water are arranged differently from here. The bridges appear in a different order. The light touches everything the same way, but the shadows fall in new patterns. You sit and rest. Your body settles, your breathing quiets. The afternoon holds you, holds the river, holds the path and the people and the light. Time continues to pass, but it does not feel like progression. It feels like deepening, like the same moment stretching itself, expanding, filling more space without moving forward. The water flows, the light warms, the shadows lengthen, people pass, birds fly, boats move slowly on the river. The city breathes around you and you breathe with it, part of its rhythm, part of its slow transition from afternoon toward evening. You stand again eventually. You walk again. The path continues and so do you. The river flows beside you, constant and patient. The sky above holds its pale warmth, its gathering color. The opposite bank rises in its layers of buildings and bridges and distance. You walk without destination. You have been walking all day, and the walking has become its own purpose, its own reason. Each step is the same as the last, and each step is different, and together they carry you along the river, through the afternoon, into the slow fade of time that does not yet reach night but moves inevitably toward it. The light continues to warm. The shadows continue to grow. The people continue to become shapes, silhouettes against the brightening water. And you continue to walk, to pause, to sit, to stand, to watch, to breathe, held within the afternoon as it stretches itself thin, as it lingers, as it refuses to end too quickly, as it allows you to drift through it, unhurried, calm, present. You continue walking along the river until the bridge appears ahead of you. It rises in the distance, unmistakable in its form. Two towers, tall and solid, standing on either side of the river, connected by suspended walkways, by the span of the bridge itself. The structure is intricate even from here, lines and shapes that suggest Gothic detail, stone that holds age and weight, metal that curves and supports. The bridge stands against the sky, and the sky is beginning to change. You walk toward it slowly. There is no need to hurry. The bridge is not going anywhere, and neither is the sunset. Both will happen in their own time, and you will arrive when you arrive. The light is shifting. You have been watching it shift all afternoon, but now the changes are more pronounced, more deliberate. The pale warmth of earlier has deepened into something richer. The clouds above the river, which have hung there all day in layers of gray and white, are beginning to catch color. Not everywhere, not all at once, but at their edges, at their undersides, where the sun, still hidden but approaching the horizon, touches them with its light. The color is faint at first. A hint of pink, barely there, more suggestion than certainty. A wash of pale gold that might be imagination. But as you walk closer to the bridge, as the minutes pass, the color grows. It spreads along the base of the clouds, seeping upward, turning the gray to rose, to amber, to something that holds warmth without numbing it. You reach a place along the embankment where the path widens, where there is space to stand without blocking others, and you stop. The bridge is in front of you, not far now, its towers rising clearly against the sky. Between you and the bridge, the river flows, and on the river's surface, everything is beginning to double. The water reflects the sky. It has been reflecting the sky all day, but now the reflection holds color. The pale rose of the clouds appears on the water, wavering, shifting with the current, but present. The amber light spreads across the surface, turning the dark water to something luminous, something that seems to hold light within itself rather than merely reflecting it from above. You move to the railing and rest your hands on it. The metal is cool, familiar. You have leaned on many railings today, and this one is no different. Solid, patient, waiting. You lean forward slightly and you watch. The bridge stands dark against the brightening sky. Its towers are silhouettes now, their details lost to shadow, their forms reduced to shape and mass. The suspended walkways between the towers are lines, dark and straight, cutting across the pale background. The bridge's roadway is visible, cars crossing, their headlights beginning to glow as the light fades, but from here they are distant, part of the structure rather than separate from it. The sky deepens. The pink at the base of the clouds grows stronger, richer, spreading upward and outward. Gold appears, threading through the rose, creating layers of color that shift and blend. The clouds themselves become defined by the light. Those catching the sun glow warmly, while those in shadow remain gray, creating contrast, creating depth. You stand and watch as the color intensifies. It is not a sudden change. It is gradual, incremental. The kind of change that happens so slowly you could almost miss it if you looked away, but becomes undeniable when you hold your gaze steady. The sky is becoming a canvas, and the light is painting it with warmth with the ending of the day. The water receives all of this. Every shift in the sky appears on the river's surface, doubled and distorted by the movement of the current. The rose light ripples, the gold fragments and reforms. Where the water is smooth, the reflection is almost perfect, a mirror of the sky above. Where the water is disturbed by boats, by wind, by the natural turbulence of the current, the reflection scatters into pieces, into suggestions of color rather than solid shapes. The bridge's towers stand in the middle of this transformation, dark and unchanging. While the sky brightens and the water glows, the stone and metal of the bridge remain constant, solid forms that anchor the scene. The towers are reflected too, appearing on the water as inverted shapes, wavering slightly but recognizable. The whole bridge exists twice, once above the river, once below it, one real and one reflected, both present, both part of the moment. You breathe slowly, deeply, watching. Your breathing has its own rhythm, separate from the light but connected to it somehow, both part of the same passage of time. The air you breathe in is cool, tinged with the smell of the river, and when you exhale, your breath becomes part of the evening air, invisible, released. The color in the sky continues to build. Orange appears, not bright or garish, but soft, muted, blending with the pink and gold to create a warmth that spreads across the western horizon. The clouds closest to where the sun must be, though you still cannot see the sun itself, glow with this orange light, their edges outlined in brightness, their centers holding shadow. The light changes the quality of everything. The buildings across the river, which were gray or pale earlier, now hold warmth in their stone and brick. Windows catch the light and reflect it, glowing softly like small fires. The water, which was dark and muted all day, now holds a luminosity that seems impossible, as though the river itself has become a source of light rather than just a surface that reflects it. You remain at the railing and time continues to pass. People walk by behind you, their footsteps soft against the stone path. Some stop near you, drawn by the same sight, the same slow transformation of the sky. They stand in silence or they murmur quietly to each other and then they move on. You do not move. You remain watching, breathing, present. The towers of the bridge begin to darken further as the sky behind them brightens. The contrast increases. The darker the towers become, the more vivid the sky appears. The structure becomes pure silhouette, a shape cut from black paper and held against a backdrop of color. Every line is visible, every detail of the Victorian Gothic architecture reduced to outline, to form without. The water reflects this growing contrast. The dark shape of the bridge appears below, rippling on the surface, and around it, the glowing water creates a frame of light. Reflection is never still. It shifts constantly, breaking and reforming, the currents fragmenting the image, and then allowing it to settle briefly before fragmenting it again. Minutes pass. The orange in the sky deepens, moving toward red at its core, where the sun must be setting behind the layers of cloud. The pink spreads wider, reaching across more of the sky, touching clouds that were gray moments ago. The gold fades slightly, giving way to the warmer tones, but it does not disappear entirely. It remains at the edges, a reminder of the transition happening above you. The light on the water shifts with the sky. As the colors deepen above, they deepen below. The river becomes a mirror of fire, of warmth, of the slow burning of daylight into dusk. The surface holds reds and oranges and pinks, all moving, all blending, all temporary and fleeting but present in this moment. You watch without thinking, without analyzing. You simply see the colors, the shapes, the light, the dark. The constant motion of the water and the stillness of the bridge, the warmth of the sky and the coolness of the air, all of it existing together, all of it part of the same moment that stretches itself out, that refuses to rush, that allows you to stand here and witness it fully. The sky begins to fade, not quickly, not dramatically, but inevitably. The brightest colors, the deepest oranges and reds, begin to soften. The intensity lessens. The pink pales slightly. The warmth remains, but it becomes gentler, quieter, as though the sky is settling, as though the display is complete, and now comes the slow return to evening calm. The water reflects this fading. The glow on the surface diminishes degree by degree. The river, which was luminous moments ago, begins to darken, returning to its natural state. The reflections remain: the sky, the bridge, the distant buildings, but they are muted now, softer, less vivid. The bridge's towers remain dark. They have not changed throughout the sunset. They have simply stood, holding their position, allowing the light to move around them, behind them, reflected below them. Now, as the sky fades, the towers remain, still dark, still solid, still present. You stand at the railing and you do not move. The sunset is fading, but you remain. The light continues to dim, the colors continue to soften, and you continue to watch. There is no signal that tells you it is time to leave. There is only the gradual lessening of light, the slow transition from sunset to dusk, and you are part of it, witnessing it, held within it. The sky above the bridge is pale now, washed with the faintest pink, the faintest gold. The clouds are losing their definition, blending back into the general grayness of evening. The water is darkening, its surface becoming harder to read, the reflections less clear. The bridge stands against this dimming world, its towers black against the pale sky, its form unchanged. You breathe and the air is cooler now. The warmth of the afternoon is gone, replaced by the first hints of evening chill. You feel it against your face, against your hands on the railing. The city around you is transitioning. Lights beginning to come on in buildings, street lamps starting to glow, the ambient sound shifting as the day's activities wind down and evening activities begin. But you remain at the railing, watching the last of the light fade from the sky, watching the river darken, watching the bridge hold its position against the coming night. You remain because there is nothing else you need to do, nowhere else you need to be, and the fading light is as worthy of attention as the brilliant colors were moments ago. The sunset is over, but you do not leave. Not yet. You turn away from the river, from the darkening water and the silhouette of the bridge, and you walk back into the streets. The light is different now. The natural light of day has faded, and what remains is borrowed, artificial, created. Street lamps stand at intervals along the pavement, their lights glowing amber, casting pools of warmth onto the stone below. The lamps have been lit for a while now, but in the lingering dusk they seemed unnecessary, competing with the sky. Now, as night settles fully, they come into their own, claiming the darkness, pushing it back just enough to see by. You walk beneath them, moving from one pool of light to the next, the spaces between them darker, softer. The rhythm of light and shadow creates a pattern as you walk: brightness, dimness, brightness, dimness. A gentle pulse that matches the slow pace of your footsteps. The buildings on either side of the street hold their own lights now. Windows glow from within, warm yellow or soft white, each one a small beacon. You look up as you walk, noticing them. A window on the second floor, curtains drawn but light seeping around the edges. Another window, uncurtained, showing the interior of a room, a lamp on it. Table, the shape of furniture. These lit windows create a pattern against the dark facades, points of warmth scattered across the stone and brick. The shops are closing. You pass a small shop, its front window still lit, and through the glass you see someone inside, moving between shelves, straightening things, preparing to leave. The person moves slowly, without urgency, and you watch for a moment before continuing on. Farther down the street, another shop is already dark, its shutters pulled down, its entrance locked. A sign hangs in the window, closed or something similar, though you do not stop to read it. The street is quieter than it was during the day. Not empty, but quieter. People still walk, but fewer of them, and their movements are slower, more deliberate. The energy of the afternoon has dissipated, replaced by something calmer, more inward. You pass a couple walking together, their voices low, their words indistinct but their tone soft, intimate. They do not notice you and you do not disturb them. You simply pass, two paths crossing briefly in the evening. A bus moves past on a parallel street, its engine a low rumble that you feel as much as hear. The sound rises, peaks, and then fades as the bus continues on, carrying its passengers to wherever they are going. You do not see the bus, only hear it, and the sound becomes part of the ambient texture of the evening, distant, present, unremarkable. You turn down a narrower street, one lined with smaller buildings, residential or mixed use, their fronts close to the pavement. The street lamps here are farther apart, and the spaces between them are darker. You walk through these darker sections slowly, your eyes adjusting, your other senses sharpening. The sound of your footsteps, the coolness of the air, the faint smell of something cooking, drifting from an open window above, garlic perhaps, or onions, something warm and savory that speaks of evening meals, of home settling into night. Ahead, a doorway glows with light. It is a pub or a cafe, you cannot tell which until you are closer. The windows are lit from within, and through them you can see people sitting at tables, talking, drinking. The light spills out onto the pavement, warm and inviting, and as you pass you hear laughter, not loud, not raucous, but gentle, muted, the sound of people at ease. You do not go inside. You simply note it, this pocket of warmth and community in the evening, and you continue walking. The pavement beneath your feet is uneven in places. The old stones settled into new configurations over the years. You feel the slight rises and falls, the way your weight shifts with each step. The unevenness does not bother you. It is simply part of the street, part of the texture of walking through this city that has been walked through for centuries. You pass an alley, narrow and dark, its entrance barely visible between two buildings. A single lamp glows partway down it, casting a small circle of light on wet stone. The rest of the alley disappears into shadow. You glance down it but do not enter. The darkness there is complete, private, holding whatever it holds without revealing itself. You continue on the main street where the light is, where the path is. More windows glow as you walk. Some are on the ground floor, shops or cafes or restaurants, their interiors visible, their activities on display. Others are higher up in apartments or offices, their light more private, more inward. You see the glow but not the details, just the suggestion of life continuing behind glass, behind walls, in spaces you will never. A car passes, its headlights sweeping across the street, illuminating everything for a brief moment. The pavement, the buildings, your own shadow stretching ahead of you. Then the car is gone, and the street returns to its previous state, lit only by the street lamps and the windows, darker than it was a moment ago by contrast. You reach a small square, or a widening of the street where several paths meet. In the center stands a lamppost, taller than the others, its light brighter, spreading across the entire space. A few people are here, someone sitting on a low wall looking at their phone, their face lit by the screen's glow. Two people standing, talking, their breath visible in the cooling air. You cross the space slowly, walking along its edge, and the people do not look up, do not acknowledge you. You are simply another person passing through the evening. On the far side of the square, you choose a street at random and follow it. This one is quieter still, more residential, the buildings taller, their facades unbroken by shop fronts. The windows here are curtained, most of them, but light shows through the fabric, soft, diffused, suggesting warmth within. You imagine the rooms behind those windows, the people in them, settling into their evenings. Reading, perhaps. Watching something on a screen. Talking quietly. Making tea. All the small rituals of night beginning. The temperature has dropped noticeably. The air is cool now, bordering on cold, and you feel it against your face, your hands. You put your hands in your pockets or you pull your sleeves down over them, seeking warmth. The coolness is not unpleasant. It is simply the temperature of evening in this season, in this place, and you accept it as part of the experience. A cat appears, crossing the street ahead of you. It moves quickly, purposefully, its form low and sleek. It reaches the far side and disappears between two buildings, becoming part of the shadows. You watch it go, this small nocturnal creature, living its own life in the spaces between the lit areas, and then you continue walking. The sound of music reaches you, faint and distant. Not live music, but recorded, playing somewhere. In a home, in a shop, you cannot tell. The melody is soft, indistinct, and it fades as you walk, becoming part of the ambient sound of the evening along with the distant traffic, the occasional voice, the hum of the city breathing around you. You pass a window at street level, and through it you see a small restaurant nearly empty. A few tables are occupied, people eating quietly, and a server moves between them, attentive but unhurried. The light inside is warm, golden, and it makes the food on the tables look rich and inviting. You do not feel hungry, but you notice it, this small scene of evening sustenance, and it adds to the sense of the city settling, of people finding their places for the night. The streets continue to wind, and you continue to follow them. Left here, right there, straight ahead, each choice made without thought, each turn simply the next step in the ongoing walk. The buildings change slightly, some older, some newer, some well-maintained, others showing their age in peeling paint and cracked facades. But all of them hold light in their windows, and all of them stand as part of the city, part of the evening. You stop at a corner and lean against a wall, resting for a moment. The brick is cool against your back, and you settle into it, your body finding support. From here, you can see down two streets, one stretching ahead, the other to your side. Both are lit by street lamps, both are quiet, both hold the same quality of evening calm. A person walks past, their footsteps echoing softly. They are alone, moving at a steady pace, and they nod to you as they pass. A brief acknowledgement, stranger to stranger, and then they are gone, swallowed by the darkness between the lamps. You push away from the wall and begin walking again. The night is here now, fully arrived. The last traces of dusk have faded from the sky, leaving only darkness above, broken by the glow of the city reflected on clouds you cannot see. The street lamps hold back the darkness at ground level, creating pathways of light through the night, and you follow these pathways, moving deeper into the evening. The city has changed its character. The openness of day, the visibility, the sense of everything being revealed, all of that is gone. Now the city is intimate, protective, its space is defined by light and shadow, by what is visible and what is hidden. You move through this transformed landscape, still walking, still present, but now held within the darkness, surrounded by it, moving through pools of light like islands in a dark sea. More shops are dark now. More windows are curtained. The streets are emptier, though not deserted. The city continues its life, but quietly, privately, turned inward. And you continue your walk, moving through the evening streets, part of the night now, held within it, as the city breathes softly around you and the lights glow on and the darkness settles, complete and patient, holding everything in its gentle grasp. You walk until the streets change character again, and you find yourself in a residential area, where the buildings are homes rather than shops, where the pavement is lined with parked cars and the windows glow softly behind curtains. The street lamps here are spaced farther apart than they were in the center of the city. Their light is the same amber, but there is more darkness between them, more shadow, more quiet. The pools of light fall on empty pavement, on the hoods of parked cars, on the low walls that separate small front gardens from the street. You walk through this alternating pattern of light and dark, your footsteps the only sound you can hear clearly. The air is still, completely still. There is no wind, no movement, nothing to disturb the night. The stillness settles around you like a presence, like something you can feel against your skin. You breathe. And your breath becomes part of this stillness, rises into it and disappears. You walk slowly, more slowly than you have walked all day. There is no reason to move quickly here. No reason to move at all, except that walking is what you have been doing, and so you continue. One foot in front of the other, slow, steady, quiet. The houses stand on either side of the street, their fronts dark or softly lit. Most have their curtains drawn, their lives hidden behind fabric and glass. A few windows show light, warm yellow squares that suggest rooms within, people within, evening routines continuing in private spaces. You do not look too closely. You simply note them, these signs of life and continue walking. A car is parked at the curb, its metal surface catching the streetlight, reflecting it dully. You pass close to it, your hand almost brushing against it, and you notice the coolness radiating from it, the way the metal has absorbed the night's temperature. The car is silent, waiting, empty. Beyond it, another car, and another. A line of them parked nose to tail, creating a barrier between the pavement and the road. You stop walking. You simply stop in the middle of the pavement beneath a street lamp. The light falls on you and you stand in it, still breathing. You do not look around. You do not check the time or wonder where you are. You simply stand, and the street holds you and the night holds the street, and everything is quiet. The silence is not absolute. Beneath it, if you listen, there are small sounds. The distant hum of the city far away, a background presence that never entirely disappears. The faint rustle of something, a leaf perhaps, or a piece of paper, moved by air you cannot feel. Somewhere far away, a door closes, the sound soft and brief, and then the silence returns. You begin walking again, slowly. Your footsteps sound different here than they did in the busier streets. Each step is distinct, separate, audible. The sound rises and falls with each pace, the soft contact of shoe against pavement, the brief moment of weight, the release. You listen to your own walking, and it becomes a rhythm, a meditation. The street curves gently and you follow the curve. More houses, more parked cars, more street lamps casting their amber light on empty pavement. The repetition is soothing, not monotonous. Each section of street is the same and different, familiar and new. You stop again, this time at the edge of a pool of light where the darkness begins. You stand with one foot in the light, one in shadow, and you look up. The sky above is dark, nearly black, with clouds that hide the stars. The glow of the city reflects on these clouds, creating a faint luminescence, a suggestion of light where there should be none. You watch the sky for a long time, looking for movement, for change, but there is none. The clouds are still, the sky is still, everything is held in perfect quietness. You lower your gaze and continue walking. A small front garden appears beside you, enclosed by a low iron fence. You stop at the fence and rest your hands on it. The metal is cold, rough with old paint. Inside the garden, shadows suggest shapes. A small tree, a bush, the outline of a path leading to a door. You cannot see details, only darkness and the faint suggestions of form. You stand at the fence for several minutes, looking at nothing in particular, simply being present with the darkness and the quiet. When you move on, you do so slowly, reluctantly, as though leaving something behind. But the quiet comes with you. It surrounds you, moves with you, is part of you. The houses here are modest. Not large, not grand, simply homes where people live their lives. You can sense the lives behind the walls, people sleeping perhaps, or preparing for sleep, reading in bed, watching something on a screen with the volume low. The small, ordinary activities of night in a residential street. These lives exist parallel to yours, close but separate, and you walk past them without intrusion, without contact. Another street lamp ahead. You walk toward it, and as you enter its pool of light, you stop again. You turn and look back the way you came. The street stretches behind you, disappearing into darkness between the lamps. You have walked through that darkness, and it has allowed you passage, and now it waits behind you, patient and still. You turn forward again and continue. A sound reaches you, faint, barely audible, you stop to listen. It is the sound of water running somewhere inside one of the houses. A tap being turned on, water filling a glass or a kettle, then the tap being turned off. The sound stops and silence returns. These small domestic sounds, usually lost beneath the noise of day, are audible here in the deep quiet of the night. You pass a tree growing between the pavement and the road. Its branches are bare, dark against the lighter darkness of the sky. You stop beneath it and look up into the branches at the way they divide and subdivide, creating patterns. The tree is perfectly still. Not a leaf moves, not a branch sways. It stands as it has stood for years, holding its place, breathing slowly through the seasons. You continue walking, and the street continues, and the lamps continue to mark distance with their pools of light. You move through them one by one, each passage from light to shadow to light again, marking time, marking progress that is not progress, simply continuation. A cat sits on a doorstep ahead, watching you approach. You slow even further, moving quietly so as not to startle it. The cat's eyes catch the street light, reflecting it back in two small points of green. You pass within a few feet of it and it does not move. It simply watches, calm and unafraid, and then you are past. And when you glance back, the cat is still there, still watching, still perfectly still. You stop at another lamppost and lean against it. The metal is cool and solid against your back. You stand there supported, resting, and you close your eyes. The darkness behind your eyelids is complete. You listen to the silence, to the faint sounds within it, your own breathing, your own heartbeat, the distant city hum. You listen until these sounds become part of the silence rather than separate from it. When you open your eyes, the street is unchanged. The same lamps, the same houses, the same parked cars. But you feel different, calmer, quieter, more aligned with the stillness around you. You walk on and the street continues its gentle curve, leading you deeper into the residential area, deeper into the quiet. The night holds everything gently. The houses, the cars, the street lamps, the pavement, you. Everything is held in this soft darkness, this protective silence. You stop one more time in the middle of an empty stretch between lamps. Here, the darkness is deeper. The light from the nearest lamp barely reaches you, and you stand in shadow, nearly invisible. You feel the darkness around you, not as absence but as presence, as something that holds and contains and protects. You stand in it for a long time, breathing, being, existing in this moment that asks nothing of you, that requires nothing, that simply allows you to be. The city breathes around you, slow and steady. The night breathes. You breathe with it, part of it, held within its quiet rhythm. And you stand, and the street is still, and the houses are still, and everything waits in perfect, patient silence. You walk until you find yourself back near the river, though you are not sure when you turn toward it when the decision was made. The streets have led you here, and here is where you are. The embankment path is nearly empty now. The people who walked it earlier are gone, returned to their homes, to their evenings, to whatever private spaces hold them. The path stretches in both directions, lit by lamps that cast their amber pools on stone, and between the pools, darkness. You walk along the path until you see a bench, positioned to face the water. It sits alone, waiting, and you move toward it slowly. The bench is wooden, its surface weathered by seasons of rain and sun and wind. You stand in front of it for a moment, looking at it, and then you sit. The wood is cool beneath you. You settle onto it, your body finding its position, and you lean back. Your hands rest on your knees or on the bench beside you or folded in your lap. Your feet are flat on the stone path. You are sitting and the river is in front of you and the night holds both. The water is dark. Not black, but dark. A deep gray that holds the faintest reflections of lights from the opposite bank. The surface moves, always moving, the current flowing as it has flowed all day, all night, forever. You watch this movement without following it, without trying to understand it. You simply see it, this constant flowing, this patient progression toward the sea. The air is cool against your face. You breathe it in slowly, feeling it fill your lungs, and when you exhale, your breath becomes visible for a moment. A small cloud that forms and dissipates, mixing with the night air. You breathe again, and each breath is the same, and each breath is its own moment. The city sounds are distant here. You hear them, but faintly. The low hum of traffic somewhere far away, the occasional sound of a vehicle crossing a bridge. These sounds reach you across the water, across the distance, softened by space, by air, by the night itself. They do not disturb. They simply exist, part of the larger silence. You sit and watch the water. Minutes pass, though you do not count them. Time has lost its markers, its boundaries. There is only the sitting, the breathing, the watching. The river flows. Your breath flows. Time flows through you and around you, and you are part of it, carried by it, held within it. A light reflects on the water, a street lamp from the opposite bank, or a window, or something else. The reflection wavers, stretches, breaks apart, and reforms with the movement of the current. You watch it change, watch it shift, watch it exist in its impermanence. Nothing on the water stays the same. Everything is always becoming something else, always moving, always flowing away. Your breathing slows, in and out, in and out. The rhythm is steady, automatic, requiring nothing from you. Your body breathes itself, and you simply allow it, observing without interfering. The coolness of the air entering, the warmth of the breath leaving, the small pause between them, the space where nothing happens, where everything rests. The bench beneath you feels more familiar now. The wood has warmed slightly from your presence, or you have cooled to match it. Either way, the difference has lessened. You are part of the bench, and the bench is part of the embankment, and the embankment is part of the river, and the river is part of the city, and the city is part of the night. Everything connected, everything held together in this moment. You close your eyes briefly. The darkness behind your eyelids is complete, soft, restful. You listen to the night, the distant sounds, the nearby sounds, the sound of your own breathing. You listen to the silence between the sounds, the spaces where nothing fills the air but presence itself. When you open your eyes, the river is still there, still flowing, still holding its reflections. A boat passes far out on the water. You see its lights moving slowly across the darkness, red and green and white, marking its passage. The boat is silent from here, or its sound does not reach you. It simply moves, crossing your field of vision from left to right, and then it is gone, and the river is empty again, holding only reflections, only the steady flow of water. You sit and breathe, and the night sits with you, and the river flows beside you, and everything is still even though everything is moving. The stillness and the movement are not opposites. They are the same thing, seen from different angles, felt in different ways. Your thoughts, which were present earlier, Thoughts about the day, about the walking, about what comes next have faded. They dissolve like your breath in the cool air, forming briefly and then disappearing. There is nothing to think about, nothing to plan or remember or anticipate. There is only this bench, this river, this night, this breath. The darkness on the water deepens, or perhaps your eyes are adjusting, seeing more subtlety in the shadows. You notice the way the darkness is not uniform. Some areas are darker than others, some hold more depth, more weight. The water near the bank where you sit is darker than the water farther out. The water beneath the bridge far upstream is darker still. But all of it is part of the same river, all of it flowing together toward the same destination. You breathe in, you breathe out. The air moves through you and you move through time, and time moves through the night. And the night holds everything gently, patiently, without asking for anything in return. The city around you is resting, not sleeping. Cities do not sleep entirely, but resting, breathing slowly, holding its millions of lives in quiet suspension. Behind you, in the streets you walk through, people are in their homes, in their beds, in their own quiet moments. The city breathes with them, for them, around them. And you breathe with the city, part of its rhythm, part of its vast, slow exhalation. The bench supports you. The river flows. The night continues. Your breath continues. Everything continues without effort, without strain, simply being what it is, doing what it does, existing in this moment that has no beginning and no end, that simply is. You sit and the water moves and the lights reflect and the darkness holds and the coolness settles and the silence deepens and your breathing slows and your body rests and the night remains and the river remains and the city remains and everything remains, patient and still and flowing. And here, the water, the darkness, the breath, the stillness, the river, the night, the city here, everything breathing, everything held.